printer, we're going to need to clean them up a little bit. So we've printed out for the 4 base pieces. If you follow the printing instructions, you can see those here in this other video. And we need to cut these little pieces off the corner here. We're just going to use our knife to trim those pieces off. They're very thin. They're only 0.8 millimeters thick, so they're very thin. You can try to kind of cut them away from yourself. Okay, let's look at the base piece here. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to trim the little adhesion helpers off the corners. These help keep the bottom of the pieces flat, and just clean up any sort of rough edges that we have on the base tiles. Okay, once you're all done, you can just kind of put the pieces in place and just kind of test that they all fit together. They're a little bit loose. That's by design because everybody's printer is a little bit different in their tolerances. And now that you can see them all put together here, we can just test the fit with the top pieces, make sure that the caps fit nicely with the base pieces, and we're ready to take the next step. So let's grab our tiles and just make sure that they fit in okay, and they should fit in. You don't want them to be too tight. If they are too tight, you may need to go and you may need to trim around these edges a little bit and kind of test them this way as well too. And they should be a little tiny bit loose. You don't want them to be too tight because you don't want to damage the tiles that you get in. So if they are too tight, these ones are fine, but if they are too tight, you might end up with a little bit of a lip around the edge. If your printer has a lot of squish on the base layer, it might push that little base layer in. So you might just need to trim those edges a little bit. It's important to make sure you do this part. You see how it's going to be loose there, but when we put the insert in, it has a little lip, and it's going to fit in nice and snug like that. Okay, let's take a look at the pieces that we printed out here. So we can see that we're going to be building this square here, which is the 2x2, and there's 2 of those in the main set. And so we should have, you should have this base frame here, to make sure that the edges and everything are all cleaned up and ready to go. And you should have a top cap as well, and you should actually have 2 of those. So because we're gonna make 2 of those, and these are both used in the core game. You're already on your way to printing the set. The next piece we have here is the 40mm wall tile. This has been printed on FDM, so you can kind of see the layer lines a little bit when it gets really, really close like that, but that'll look great on the board. And this is a corner piece. We can see that's going to be used to kind of put the corners together. We also have one of the doors. This has been sort of prepped and dry brushed. I prepped and dry brushed that a little bit easier earlier, so it'll be easy to see, and a door frame as well. And this door frame actually already has the magnets in it. You can see that the magnets, once you paint over it, they're very well blended in. We also have this magnet helper, and this is basically the key piece that we'll use to align all our magnets to, and we painted that orange so it's easy to see. And this one of the clips as well too here. Those are the clips that fit into the bottom, and they're going to drop into the bottom of the wall pieces, and those hold a spherical magnet so that it'll stick downwards towards the plate. Okay, before we get started putting magnets into the pieces, let's talk about polarity for a second. So let's take a look at this piece on the wall here. So what we can see here is that there's a magnet on one side and the other side, and those are going to be a positive and negative orientation on each side. So they're going to be opposites, and that's where each piece is going to connect to the piece next to it, and it's going to go around these walls in sort of in a flow. So you see the positive and negative attach. And if you flip it the other way around, well, now it's the positive and negative on the other side of the clip. And you can see, obviously, the polarities, they won't line up like this. So it's important to get them to always go in the same way. And when you're putting them into, the other thing that you want to be looking at is where the front of that wall is, that little lip that sticks out. So that's the inside edge. So you see here, that's the inside edge that I pulled out there. And you see, if I try to put it in backwards, it's just not going to fit. It's gonna go in the opposite polarity. So that's why it's really important to get the little lip set correctly on the inside and get the magnets always flowing the same way. And it's the same thing with the corner pieces. You know, one of those is a positive and one of those is a negative, and it creates an L-shaped pattern if you kind of look at it from the top here. So the magnets there, those are the positive and negative magnets. So they're going to continue to flow through the flow polarity through that. And if you pick this piece up and you try to put it in and it's not set up with the correct orientation, you see it just doesn't want to go in any of the ways until it finds the right way to go in. It's just going to click right in. Just take a look at this diagram here. Again, it shows that the polarity here on the bottom piece is flowing across the bottom, the left piece across the bottom wall is flowing left to right. But when you go to where the door is, you can see how the polarity at the two walls that connect to each other, the two backs are facing each other, so the flow of the polarity is actually reversed, and it's reversed room by room. So we can see here, if we start to separate these this door piece, and we pull the door piece out, and we're going to try to put this magnet piece, you see it just kind of slips in on the end. And so I'm putting a wall with its back, matching it to another wall with its back. And so the backs of the walls are always connected together, are always lined up back to back. And the flow of the polarity is going to continue around each piece, around each wallway. So it's, again, if I take these pieces out and I'm going to put the door back in, it's important to note then that the door has two magnets on the side, and the two magnets are positive and negative on one side and positive and negative on the other side, and they're going to always match. And you can flip that door either way, and it's always going to match the flow of the polarity of the piece. And to help us figure that out, we have this thing which we call a magnet master, and it has on it the outside and the inside labels, and positive and negative. And we're going to put our magnets into this magnet master, and this is going to help us keep everything aligned. So let's go ahead and set up the magnet master. So this is what we need for the Magnet Master. So we've got our printed Magnet Master piece, and we're going to put the positive and negative magnets into the hole on either side. I want this to align to a set that I already have, so I'm going to actually use this to just make sure that my polarity is lined up. See, that was the way it's rejecting it, and that way it's attaching it. So I'm actually going to see the polarity of these magnets. They're just going to go in line. So I can take this, now that I've identified the correct polarity, I'm going to put this in here, and just going to, before I do anything else, I'm going to put a little dab of super glue in here, because these magnets are going to, I'm just going to double check my polarity. I always want to double check, because once you get this, once you set this up, this is it, you're locked into this. So I just wanted to make sure it was going to match. Put a little dab of super glue on the bottom of the magnet, and I'm just going to push it in. And the FDM is kind of flexible, so it should just push in. And then I'm going to use the hilts of my knife here and just kind of push it in a little bit and get it nice and flush. And that Gorilla Glue, that super glue that's inside there, that's just going to help it to not want to slide out. Because we're going to use this piece, you know, hundreds and hundreds of times, thousands of times, to put in all the different magnets that we have. So we've got that one in, and we need to put the magnets in on the other side. So we're just going to line it up like so. So I'm just going to grab the magnet like this, and I'm going to keep a track of what side is going in. Actually, I'm going to put the super glue on first while it's already lined up. And so the negative side of the magnet is going to go into this other end here. And I know that that flows all the way through because the positive and negative charge of the magnets was aligned all the way through. Now that's not quite aligned in, so I'm just going to push it down on the plate there, and I'm going to push it in a little bit with the hilts of my knife. Or anything here that's really kind of a little bit pliable will kind of work to push it in. I'm going to wipe the glue off, and now I've got my Magnet Master set up. And I printed it in a different color so that it's kind of easy to see, because I want to be able to spot it. You know, when I'm working on my stuff, I want to find it on my workbench. So I just double checking that both ends line up and everything's kind of good to go. And so we'll just quickly put the magnets into this wall piece here as well too while we're at it. So we're going to take our Magnet Master, and we're going to, this is the kind of neat thing about the magnets, you just peel the magnets off and you just drop them, and they're so small and light, they're just going to flick into position. And that's, and then we know that they're correctly aligned. And then we just take our glue and put a little dab, and we just go a dab on there and just show you exactly how much you put on. It's very, very little. All right. And now we're just going to press fit them together. And with the resin pieces, these pieces, sometimes they shrink a little bit, so you might have to like bore it out a little bit with a drill bit. But with the FDM pieces, they should just click, they should kind of really push in. And the neat thing here is that the magnet holes are actually tapered slightly, so that as it goes in further, it's going to grip tighter. They're very, very slight taper on the holes, which I found was it's an improvement on the old design that I used to use. And I just use the bottom of the magnet helper to be able to just push it into the Magnet Master, just to push it in, wipe the glue off, and then let's just double check this piece. And I can just double check it on the other side as well too. And good, we're good to go. Okay, the next step is to put a clip in the bottom. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put this little clip in the bottom. And this is going to basically would be a spherical magnet that's going to hold it down. So what I like to do is just put the magnet on a little string of magnets so I have something to hold on to. And these magnet helpers are pretty soft, so you're just going to push it all the way in. Okay, so I'm just testing the bottom of the magnet here to make sure that it's going to stay in, and I'm just going to pry it back a little bit with a knife. And I'm going to take a little bit of glue. I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of glue here right on the edge. It's a little bit hard to see here because I'm doing this just right on the edge of the camera, but you see I'm putting a little dab of glue there. And I'm just going to be very careful not to get too much glue because I don't want that to go all over the bottom of the magnet. And then I'm just going to press it in with the bottom of the hilt of the knife. And we're going to rub it back, and let's just see what the result of that looks like. Okay, so the next piece that we're going to do is we're going to do this wall piece, this corner piece here. And we're going to use the 4x2mm magnets for that as well. So what we're going to do is we need to make sure that we align this the correct way. So these two little skulls, they kind of always go on the outside, and they kind of go further towards the back. Okay, so when this kind of lines up, that piece is going to line up kind of like that. And this other piece, let's move this up a little bit here. This other piece is going to align like this so that the two little magnet holes are on the inside and they're slightly set towards the back. And you have the way to think about this is if you line it up with the Magnet Master, it makes it a little bit more clear how it goes. It's important to get these things correct because if they're not correct and you put the magnets in upside down, then they'll be wrong and they'll always fit together wrong. So you have to make sure you get them lined up correctly. So let's just double check the way we're lining it up here. Okay, so the narrow side is to the back, and that's going to go on the front of the wall, so that's going to help create a corner that way. And then I'm just going to put the narrow side to the back. And if you look at the side of the Magnet Master, like the magnet is closer to the back edge as well too. And so you can see here it's closer to the back, and it's closer to the back like that, and that should line up. And this is already good enough that I can test it already. And you can see how these two magnets here, these are now going to align to the walls. And the door is going to align to the front of the wall. And the other side of the door is going to align to a wall that goes the other way, because that's going to be a separator between two rooms. All right. So again, it's important when we're doing our Magnet Master, right? It's going to go on this side here, and then I flip it the other way, and it's going to go on the other side like that. So you kind of have to think about like what directions the bottom, the fat part of the wall at the bottom faces inside the room. But again, once you've kind of set that up, and that's why we make the Magnet Master look like a wall. It's easy to kind of remember the way to line it up. And if you screw it up and you've got the magnets, well, you can try to pull the magnets out. It's pretty hard to do. So usually when that happens, I end up just printing another piece because they're 3D printed. You can always print as more if you need them. Okay, let's put some magnets inside these frames. So we'll use the 5mm spherical magnets and our Gorilla Glue, and just have a knife handy just in case we need to trim something. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually I'm going to use my little portable Dremel here. It's batter powered Dremel. This is one of the best tools I've got. I'm just going to quickly buff the edges of this piece and make sure that it's it's got enough sort of roughness that the glue will sort of adhere to it. And I can do the same thing with the top edge here. It kind of helps to just kind of give it a little bit of a roughness, because you really want this glue to be like really solid in contact, because these magnets are pretty strong, and they can actually kind of pull the top off if it's not glued in. So I'm just going to get a little bit of a roughness for the magnets to adhere to. And then I'm going to go around and I'm going to start putting them in, and I'm going to cover the magnets, the previous magnets I put in with my finger. Now I have another tutorial for how to do this in with a more advanced method, because you can see here that sometimes the magnets will pop out if you're not careful. But for just setting up these little simple ones like this, we can kind of just use this technique and kind of cover the previous magnet with our finger as we kind of pull it away. You want to be very careful not to sort of bump or kind of like knock this whole thing around. I like to kind of have like a little string of magnets kind of tucked up in my hand, so I kind of feed them through. And again, cover over the previous magnet just so that they don't like hop out of the holes and connect up. This is part, if you kind of go careful and deliberately, it's not too bad. It's really annoying when the magnets kind of all start to pop out, because they will start to grab all of the other magnets there. And the next step is going to be the gluing. So what we're going to do is we're going to very carefully put glue. We don't want to get it anywhere near the magnet holes, but we do want to get enough glue front to back around the lip. And yeah, we're just going to kind of go around like this. And I want to make sure that there really is, I really want to make sure that this is going to create a nice solid bond. So I'm going to go all the way across from the front edge to the back edge, put a little bit of extra glue on the back edge if I can kind of get it there. And don't worry about the back edge, the inside lip, because the inside lip is going to be covered by the little lip on the top plate. It's just going to slide over. So I'm just adding a little bit extra here around the edge, just kind of dragging that out. Again, I'm trying to keep it away from the magnets, and I don't want to put so much glue on here. I'm just kind of really skimming it on here. I don't want to put so much glue that it's going to start to squish and go in the magnet holes, because it would be completely pointless if we glued those magnets in place. They wouldn't spin and the polarity wouldn't work. Wouldn't line up. Okay, so we're all set to go. So let's take see that little lip there? That's just going to go sit inside, and we're just going to drop it on top like so. And just try to get it lined up as kind of as straight as possible. There's a little bit of give in it. So let's get some clips. I love these little clips. And actually, these ones work pretty well. But actually, I'm going to switch to some plastic clips here, because we had to have magnets. These ones I got from the dollar store that are completely plastic. They're not, I don't think they're strong, but they're good for this. Both types will work. You just need to be very careful. So I have to be very careful while I'm picking this up, because I don't want to bump it and have one of those little magnets kind of attract and snap out and go to something else. So we recommend that you have a variety of these clips handy for gluing these tops down. Now we could have just laid it on top and put something on top. Now don't do this. Don't stick your tile in until the glue is dry, because you don't want to get glue on your nice shiny tiles from Curse City.